Brady himself to Rick Stroud. Sure, highly possible, highly probable. Is Brady trying to enhance or embellish his GOATness? Is he just trying to build the legend to an even higher height? Sure he is, but he deserves to, because I'm going to remind you, think about what he went through for all those years in New England under the thumb of Bill Belichick.
Yes.
Remember what happened the week before the AFC Championship game at home against Jacksonville, which led to the Philly debacle in the Super Bowl. But remember what happened that week on, I think it was a Wednesday practice.
Right.
I think it was Burkhead somehow reached for, that's what they report. I don't know what the truth is. You had trouble. You had issues with the truth of this, and you could be right about it. But somehow, some way, Brady tore open the palm of his throwing hand 4 days really, before the AFC title game at home against what was called Saxonville, one of the hottest defenses in the league at that point, especially rushing the quarterback. And according to Brady, it required 12 stitches in the palm of his throwing hand. And obviously, the stitches alone would make it a little awkward and a little dicey trying to hold on and spin the football, especially in cold weather. So I thought it was pretty great that he sucked it up, as he's often done with other injuries, and just said, hell with it, I'm going to do this with the stitches in my hand. And there was all kinds of what was written in several books about what were they going to do. Were they going to cover the stitches? And at the end, minutes before kickoff, he took off the glove and just said, I'm just going to go with this. Okay, so he goes out. They're behind 20-10 early in the fourth quarter at home to Jacksonville. And Tom Brady proceeds to throw for 138 yards in the fourth quarter, 2 touchdowns and no interceptions, and they roar all the way back and win the game 24-20. And in the postgame, when his coach, Bill Belichick, was asked about Brady sucking it up and playing with the wounded right hand, Bill Belichick's response was, well, it wasn't exactly open heart surgery. Okay, well, it wasn't open heart surgery, but it was a pretty big deal, at least in my point of view.
For a quarterback?
I would say it's a pretty big deal. It's not open heart surgery, but for a quarterback, it's nearly the equivalent of. So my point is, I think that stung Brady to his core.
Of course.
I think it angered him. I think it just made him sick that coach wouldn't give him the slightest bit of credit for sucking it up and playing, and not only playing, but starring in the fourth quarter and saving another day in Foxborough. Right?
Skip, can I speak to you from an athlete's perspective? What we get really upset about is when someone tries to minimize the extent of our injury. It's easy to say because it's not your hand that's opened up. It's not you that's going to have to, with an open hand, go through a football. But, Skip, I tried to tell you for the past 5 years, I said Brady is more human than you think. He might not, I said, but he's seething underneath. He hears what his coach is saying about him. He's minimizing him. Even after everything he's accomplished, he minimizes him at every turn. I said he might not ever say it, but trust me, he's seething underneath because he's human. You didn't want to believe me at the time that I was saying it, and once he got out of there, you listen to that Brady talk. He talks in code, but he makes it abundantly clear. I'm very happy. I appreciate everything that I was able to accomplish. I appreciate what Coach Belichick did for me. But as I got older and I'm in a different environment now, I realized we probably could have won just as much with not his iron fist on every single thing, without him talking down in a condescending manner to every single one, every single person, player on that team.
I so agree. I hear you. And I remind you that 2 weeks later, in a Super Bowl game in Minneapolis, Tom Brady threw for an all-time playoff record, not just a Super Bowl, a playoff record, 505 yards, and scored 33 points. His offense scored 33.
Correct.
And Belichick's defense gave up 41, in part because mysteriously and never to be explained, at least yet, Malcolm Butler was doghoused for the whole game. The defensive player who had played the most snaps during the regular season on defense didn't get to play a single defensive snap in a Super Bowl game for no reason that we are aware of. And Brady was obviously livid and furious after that, leading to his remarks out here in L.A. and Santa Monica to Jim Gray a month or so after the Super Bowl, in which he made his first critical remarks of Robert Kraft, Bill Belichick, and the Patriots organization. That was the beginning of the end.
Yes.
Okay, so it leads to this, and I got you. Brady leaked this because he wanted it known, because he wanted this to be the greatest story never told, now being told, in part because he had to just swallow it for 20 years in New England and put up with that coach who's now obviously on the hot seat, struggling. We'll see how they do now as they go forward with a potentially new rookie quarterback or Cam. But I think Brady thinks he's got Belichick on the run. He's obviously got the advantage for the moment. All he did was go win a Super Bowl for another team. So my point is, yeah, Brady's gloating over this. He's beating his chest over it, and I don't have any problem with that because he's earned the right to do it. And I do think it was extraordinary that he played an entire season with a new team and won a Super Bowl at age 43 on a torn MCL, which leads us to your contention about he's not the most mobile quarterback. Obviously, he's not. Well, I'll give you this. There is no way Lamar or Kyler could play on a torn MCL. I don't think they could even, they wouldn't even try. The team doctor, their personal doctor would say, you can't even try. You got to get it fixed now. Right. And you're going to miss this season, right?
Yeah, no skill. Skip, I don't believe any skill position player could play with that because, like you said, that's a stability ligament. And skill position players need stability. Now, Tom does wear a knee brace, and he's not doing any sudden movement. Always, like I said, his movements are subtle. They're not sudden. You mentioned two guys that their movements are sudden. There's nothing subtle about Lamar Jackson, about Kyler Murray. And so for me, Skip, and also, this goes back a little bit further, Skip. This goes back to the Deflategate, when they asked Coach Belichick, and Coach Belichick was driving a big 18-wheeler and drove it over Tom Brady. Said, I don't know nothing about no football. Ask Tommy. Tom is like, hold on, wait a minute. What you mean, ask Tom?
Yep.
Instead of just saying, look,
he did.
We inflate our footballs to the regulation, and to the best of my knowledge, that's what they were when the officials came and checked them. Anything outside of that, we, the team, doesn't know anything about. But you don't point the finger at your quarterback when you know he's the guy that he and Peyton Manning was one of the two guys that had the NFL to lax the rules that says, let us have the footballs up until Sunday so we can throw them, get used to them, instead of just taking the balls out of the box and then going and playing football with them. So that was really the start of it right there, Skip.
It was.
But like I said, Coach Belichick brought them on himself. But Skip, Tom Brady just built a $150 million house, and he put mink carpet and chinchilla on all the walls and the floors. It's unnecessary. Tom Brady telling you this information after everything that he accomplished this year was unnecessary. But to him, it was very necessary because he wanted to show the one guy that it mattered to the most. He'll never say this, Skip. I don't believe he'll ever say this publicly or privately at fear of it getting back. This championship meant more to him than any other championship.
I agree.
The only one that would have come close was the 19-0 championship. Now, that wouldn't have touched this one. I mean, it would have touched this one. But of all the Super Bowls that he won, I believe this one is the most important to him.
Okay. Final point of contention. I am going to defend Brady on his subtle movement. It is subtle. I give you that. But it's also movement, because he has some of the greatest pocket feet I have ever witnessed. Montana had great pocket feet. There's something to be said for the subtle movement to buy a split second from side to side, to feel the rush, to slip here or slide there,
Yes.
and get the throw away.
Right.
And he is not good. He's all-time great at that.
Yes.
And to do that, you have to trust some stability in your left knee. And I don't think he trusted it much at all. He had to work around it and trust